focus on the craft. Everything else doesn't matter, bro. Like when you focus on the craft, everything takes care of itself, and it's something that I have ashamedly like sometimes deviated from. You know what I mean? You get caught up in life. Have your tunnel vision when it comes to the work, because it's going to take you further than trying to play people politics. I think that's what I think the thing about it is that forget the people politics, focus on the craft, and when you grow, you understand what people politics is, especially in corporate structures, especially in street culture as well.
Kabelo Moremi, aka Fratpacker, is an innovative South African creative uniquely bridging the worlds of traditional TV and digital media. From his early beginnings as a presenter, he has steadily climbed the corporate ladder, making significant contributions to reality and entertainment programming across various television channels. Kabelo also co-hosts South Africa's leading hip-hop podcast, The Sobering, solidifying his role as an influential and essential documenter of contemporary culture.
Heavy is the head to wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.
Let's go.
2 times the charm.
Yep.
I think it's best to say we're doing this for the second time.
Let's go.
First time we got hit with the slow-mo. Kabelo decided he's going to hit the whole episode in slow-mo. Why are you trying?
Come on, bro. New frontiers, right? New frontiers.
Nah, my bad, bro. But thank you so much, man. You made a plan to get you. I really, really appreciate you, bro.
No, thank you. I mean, you made the plan easier to make,
Yeah,
so.
but bro, to get up here, to take a flight, just to come down, like, I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah,
you made
man,
a plan. I really, really
it's all
appreciate
good.
you, man. So hopefully we can, and I watched back and we had such a great episode,
Yeah,
bro.
it was,
Yo,
it was
hurt
such a
me,
dope
bro.
conversation. It was a really
Such a dope
one.
conversation, and there's that risk of, I hope it doesn't, I hope it does it justice.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, the second time you're doing it, it's like, yo, technically you're acting now, and I don't know if we're good actors.
I don't know, man, but it's all unscripted, so I mean, it's not
100%,
acting; it's
bro.
all real. It's
100%.
all
So
real.
close that laptop, bro.
All right, no stress.
Thank you, my bro. Thank you so much for making the time. I appreciate you.
Only love, George. Only love.
Bro, where I'd love to start.
Yeah.
If we are at some sort of a dinner party and someone asks you what you do for a living, how do you best articulate what you do professionally?
I don't know the best way to articulate that. I'll always break it down into 2. I'm like, formally, I'm employed on the corporate side of television.
Yes.
I am what you call a commissioning editor, working to basically uplift the TV and film industry, and just further build it to a better place year by year. That's essentially what we do, to partner up with producers, production companies, to make sure that their ideas see the light of day and entertain the masses. That's formal employment. And on the informal employment or the entrepreneurial side, I'm a communicator, a driver of messaging, of basically documenting what the creative culture of South Africa has to offer. I do this through podcasting, through content creation, through writing, all different mediums of communication. That's what I do. So it comes in different forms. We've got a podcast with my brother and Mokheto, the Sobering podcast. I write for various publications. I blog on my personal capacity, do talks, panels, things of that nature. So yeah, that's basically what I do if I were to break it in 2. And then the conversation will go on and on as to what everything entails.
Incredible, bro. I
Yeah.
love that. Hey, this time you hit us with a better one. But slept on the flight, man. I can tell. Yo. If we keep this up, dog. I love that, bro. Just back to the corporate job, bro.
Yeah.
Can you just explain that a bit better for me in terms of like, what does a commissioning editor do, bro? Are you conceptualizing the shows? Are you like, if you can just take us more a little in depth of what you do there, bro?
Oh yeah, 100%. You sometimes conceptualize.
Yeah.
You conceptualize an idea.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You may come up with an idea. This is in the form of what they would call a brief.
Okay.
You know, it also exists in advertising and other mediums as well.
Yes.
You'll say, okay, you look at the DNA of whatever channel or platform you're working with, and you're like, okay, I think something like this would work. And you put the brief out to the industry.
Yes.
You know, the industry being various producers, and then they will interpret that brief the way they see fit, and they will pitch that idea. And the one that we feel is the greatest execution or potential execution, we'll go with that, and then turn that into a piece of content, whether it be a 13-part series, a 6-part documentary, whatever genre it's going to fall into. And then there's also spotting good ideas as well. This is through producers sending ideas, and we say, wow, this is something really cool. We would like to develop this and see how far we can take it. And then that's when you will have producers then pitching to us in terms of the ideas that they have. And if they're good enough, then you'll see them on screen as well.
Incredible.
So it's a collaborative process, extensively collaborative, because you can imagine how many chefs are in that kitchen.
Yes.
You've got the content chef, the supplier chef, which is the producer. You've got marketing, publicity, to make sure that everybody actually knows what this is. You've got talent that's also within that space. So it's such a great team effort, and it's actually a blessing to be a part of it.
Yeah, but it's so incredible, bro. You sit in such a amazing pocket of, you're in between the sort of real production TV and the internet, and you're right in the middle. You do both. You understand both formats. I'm sure you're taking some from the one side, implementing it in the other, and 100%. Some from this side. And that's so incredible, bro. I did see on LinkedIn, bro, you launched a new format of sorts, or new show. Something to do with dating. Tell me about that, bro.
Yes. Oh, that's a cool one. Actually, the producers, that's like one of those cases where a producer brings in an idea, and then you're like, wow, this is such a cool idea. And what was cool about that idea was like a dating show called like The Catch. And then you're basically just like seeing, this is such a big format, one that can exist in the conversations of like, a Love Island, Temptation Island, and all of those grand formats. And it's always beautiful when you have something that's homegrown,
Yes.
And that is what the producer afforded us the opportunity to do, and that's what we also, as the broadcaster, afforded them to do. So like I say, it's a collaborative effort. So it's a meeting of those minds to launch what we call in our language a big format, and then see that if it can fare well into the world, and it's doing its thing. So which is quite
incredible, bro.
Blessings.
And it's insane, right? You can build a format or a project that you can pretty much license to the rest of the world, right? You can do
basically 100%.
Is that the ultimate sort of, that's when you've got that gold?
Yeah. I mean, all of those are different. You have things that there's hyper localization, there is globalization in a sense. You have properties that you can see that they can play in a global field, but you also have those that are for home. You know what I mean? So amazing. This one was one that we could see is in a a sphere where you can chat with like international formats. So that's cool.
Incredible. Yeah, that's what it felt like when I saw it. I was like, yo, this is dope. I can't wait to ask you about it, bro.
Yeah.
So tell me, bro, if we are watching one day a Netflix documentary on your life, right?
Yeah.
And then that logo goes, how would you imagine the introduction to your story?
Oh, yeah, I remember. This is a tough one. Because I'm such a local lover. I'd be like, yo, it's gonna be a Showmax documentary. Like, it's gonna be a Showmax documentary that you're gonna see. But
it can be Showmax. That's Showmax. It can even be a live action movie. Bro. You can even tell me who would act in your place.
Oh my word!
It can be anything, bro. Yeah.
Wow, it would have to start with my mother.
Yes.
It would have to start with my mother. Whatever conversation she was having while in her gestation period, you know what I mean? Like, in terms of, you know, what the anticipation was. Okay, another baby is coming, you know, dynamics are going to change because I am the last of four siblings in the house, you know what I mean? So it would be what that conversation would have been with my sister, my brother. I know my brother had always wanted a little brother, so that's like
so sweet,
I wonder
bro,
what
really.
that conversation
Yes,
between my
yes.
mom and him would have been, you know what I mean, and my two sisters as
incredible.
well. So it would start in that family, in the family home, in the Val. Zontre is basically where the family home was at that time. You know, it was Bukeng Zontre. And that's where the story would start, you know, conversations about Kabelo's coming, you know what I mean? So
Yes,
yeah, my pops as well. I know they always tell me I was obsessed with my pops, his caps as a kid, because he always wore caps. So I'd always like play with caps and things like that. So just a montage of something like that, you know what I mean?
I love that,
in
bro.
the family home, just to establish that I'm really big on family, George. Yeah.
That's beautiful, bro.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's really well put. Tell me, your break into the industry, bro. If I'm not mistaken, I was there on your first day at the job.
Yeah.
At battle stations. I remember old Akumzi, RIP.
man,
You
rest
know,
in peace.
he called me up. He was like, "Listen, there's this crazy new dude that we found. He's gonna be incredible." He would always tell me, you know, every time you talk to me about you, it's like, "This guy's gonna host Live Amp one day." That was his thing. He's like, "Trust
So
me, this guy's
crazy.
gonna host Live Amp one day." And come there, I meet you, bro, and you're like, it felt like you had been doing this for a long time then already, you know?
Yeah.
And I was battle stations, right? I think
Yeah.
I was on SABC
One. Yeah. Battle stations. Rest in peace, Akumzi, man. That was basically my break into the industry. It was actually like co-spearheaded by Akumzi and my good friend. He's my brother, basically, Omosa. And that's how I met Akumzi, was through Mosa. Because Mosa and Akumzi were like super tight, you know.
Yeah.
They were brothers, basically, you know. So he had this thing. He was super competitive with Akumzi, you know. And I think he was watching, when he told me, it was like he was watching Shizners, and he was just like, and mind you, this man did not care for hip hop at all.
At all, bro.
Like at all. He loved gospel, Zola, and that was like, yeah, that was Akumzi, you know.
Yeah.
But he was watching Shizners, and he was just like, man, I think I can do this. I think I can beat this. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I can do this. I can create a show that will exist in the conversation with this. And he created Battle Stations. He came up with Battle Stations, which was a battle show for hip hop dancers and rappers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And beatboxers, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
Like he really covered a lot of elements in hip hop, you know? And then he called Musa. He was like, Musa, man, that friend of yours, you know, because I embodied hip hop wherever I was, you know, so wherever we would meet, you know, I'd be talking about rap, about music, you know, all of that stuff. And he was like, man, there's that guy, that friend of yours, he likes talking about, you know, music and whatnot. I need this guy to audition. You think he'd be interested in that, you know? And Musa was like, well, I'll give him a call and see if he's cool with that, if he's down with that. And Musa gave me a call, and I was like, sure, man, just let me know where to go. And then they told me where to audition, went to Urban Brew, auditioned, and he liked it. And boom, we made Battle Stations, and I have like crazy networks from that. I've got you.
How old are you then,
mean?
bro?
Yo, I was like in varsity, 19, 20.
Okay.
Those times, yeah. Yeah. So it was like those cool times where you have time on your hands, where you can just be like, all right, I'm gonna ditch this lecture, I'm gonna go work.
I remember how knowledgeable you were with like clothing, and I remember you that time just thinking like, yo, this guy's onto something. And it's so crazy for me now, because when I chat to guys like Luazi Madonsela and, you know, guys who come onto the show who are like, yo, Kabelo Moremi, I'm just like, yo, it's crazy.
Shout out
bro.
to
It's
Luazi,
like, you
man.
know, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, and just to hear the stories of people you've put on across your journey, and it's like, it's incredible to see you through this journey, bro. It's insane. Tell me, bro, what was the first thing you can remember that you got put onto, whether it was hip hop, sneakers, culture? Like, what was your earliest memory of, was it your brother or someone who put you onto, like, what was the first?
Wow. It would definitely be between my brother and my sisters. My sister got a cassette and it was Snoop Dogg on it, Doggy Style, that album. And those were Walkman times.
Yeah.
And my sister had a Walkman. I played and I listened to that, and it was, this was crazy. It just connected with me. I was like, I like this, And then also, they also used to dub videos, like on cassettes, like on VCRs. Like they would always take music videos. We had music video mixtapes, basically. VCR music video mixtapes with a lot of like hip hop videos on it. And Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio was like my favorite. I basically like memorized that, and then you memorize that and you start seeing other people, you see Tupac, you see Wu-Tang and all of those. And then, they're just connecting, and even, from the hip hop perspective, but then also the Kwaito perspective was like, I used to really love Kwaito as well, like, Mashamplane, Arthur, like, those were like, I was exposed to that. And to me, they also sound like they were rapping as well. So TKZ, like, and I always just found it so cool that one of the members, his name was Kabelo as well. You know what I mean? So that was my introduction into the expression of rhythm and poetry, basically, which is the lifestyle of hip hop, which Kwaito referenced a lot of anyway.
And like the journalism bug of like blogging and writing, where did that stem from? Where did you?
Oh, dope. That's because of my brother, basically, because he would always buy like Source magazine and Double XL and things like that, and then I just also, when I'm chilling, I'd read them. He used to hide them though. That dude used to hide them, and I'd find the hiding spot.
That's hilarious, bro.
He used to hide them, James. Like, I was like, bro,
why you trying to gatekeep,
bro? He was a gatekeeper, low key, like. He used to hide his music. He used to hide his magazines.
That's crazy, bro.
And I understood though, because we also had like poster culture in the house. You know what I mean? Like, we would
100%
tear
use a
posters,
page fast before you've read it.
Yeah,
That's
like,
heartbreaking thing.
And then you put it up, or you take it to school. We used to do weird things, like take a poster to school and stuff like that. Like, look what I've got, like poster of Eminem, So I'm guessing he was preventing things like that from happening, because I definitely would have done some dumb stuff like that as well, So
100%.
I understand, but I'd always find the hiding spot and I'd read them, and subconsciously, I was just really interested in the way that they were setting out the scenes. You know what I mean? Like, it just sparked the imagination when they wrote about how, what the setting was. They really laid it out, like, they went to like a DMX video shoot and DMX is coming out of an X trailer. And you're just picturing these things like, oh, snap, this is what's happening, you know? So it just sparked the imagination, and I wanted to also do that for, maybe other readers or people like that, and just share experiences through written format. And it just so happens that my brother then also, at that time, like later on in life, in like high school and things like that, like he was dating who's now the person that's now his wife, Helen, who's like one of the greatest, entertainment journalists that we have in this country, and I basically picked her brain in terms of like what it's about, because she was writing at that point,
bro.
So I picked her brain, and then she just told me how it goes, and then she also linked me up with like great people. There was like Rage, which had Outrageous Records, and it also had like all of these blogs. There was like Levi's Music Magazine back then, with Matchbox and those people taking care of it, and then she connected me with a lot of people, with Hype Magazine when Simone was still there, you know what I mean? And I do like, some,
man.
like really, like even with Rage, and Fiona was there as well, and, doing some pieces there, it's, so she really also helped me out in that space as well. And Kito and her were really very early onto blogging as well. You know, like
Amazing.
they had a blog called The Blag, and that was also just like super amazing and cool to see. And at that time, blogging was also almost like social media is now. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just in a smaller fashion, because everybody could create a blog. And basically it's something that I loved so much that I basically went back to. Like now I'm blogging again. I'm just like, yeah, I just want to share this stuff, you know,
This
in long
idea
form or
that's-
whatever,
yeah,
you know.
amazing.
And some things they just don't fit well in the mold of a caption, or you know what I mean. So
Spot on.
put it on a blog now. Yeah.
And what did you study, bro?
Law. I studied law. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I studied law. I wanted initially to study journalism. I wanted to go to Rhodes. Applied, did everything, all of that jazz. But my mom was just like, nah, fam. It was just like, nah.
Really?
You know what I mean? Like you've got to do something else. You know.
You got your law degree.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I finished, and with no regrets as well. I'm actually quite grateful for my mom for saying no to studying journalism. You know what I mean? Simply because it just opened my mind to other things as well.
Yes.
You know, and it just helped me know how to use resources as well, because
Yes.
it helped me be resourceful, because I was like, okay, cool, you're not going to let me study journalism. How do I still mess with journalism in my own way? That's when I had the chat with like Helen, and she told me about, you know, experience being a teacher as well. You know what I mean? So get your hands dirty in the craft, and you'll learn on the job, which is essentially what I did. And while studying law, which is one of the greatest courses that you could study for your mind and for your emotional intelligence as well. You know what I mean? Because it really teaches you to look at things from different angles. And if you seeing different points of view from different people within a setting, it helps you divorce yourself from a space and not take things too personally as well. And I think that that's a skill that stayed with me and it's going to stay with me for a long time, because that's what it's just taught me things about precedent and things about like how you have how you have history inform the future and the present as well, and how things will always develop depending on the developing reasonable man as well. So shout out to my moms for steering me into the law direction as well. Yeah.
What did your parents do professionally, bro?
My mom was a nurse. My dad's an entrepreneur, so he would, you know, find like dope businesses to basically develop. Like he really was great at like hood retail. I'll call it hood retail. You know what I mean? Like he had a store, you know, and he knew how to negotiate. He's like one of the greatest negotiators, you know, like he knows how to negotiate for things and whatnot. So he ran a lot of like shops. He also had a taxi at one point. You know what I mean? Like he's done a lot of like entrepreneurial things just to make sure that everything is good. While he was taking care of the entrepreneurial vibe, my mom was very formal in the nursing trajectory as well, you know. So she studied further into nursing, practiced in nursing, you know, retired in nursing as well. Yeah.
How do you think their sort of professional careers have impacted your sort of trajectory and how you operate in your professional career?
Oh, great question, man. Great question. I think it's like two sides like that I took from them. You know what I mean? Because that's how literally I live now. You know, I have formal employment, and I've got an entrepreneurial side. So it's like my mom and my dad. My mom wasn't super entrepreneurial, but my dad was or is. You know what I mean? And with my mom, she really hopped on education. Like she really instilled that in us. Like you have to have a qualification. You just have to, you know? And that in turn just made me love school the way I love it right now. You know, I'm forever I'll always do a short course or like a long course. Every year I try and upskill myself through formal education some way, somehow. Wow. And then with my dad will just find ways, you know what I mean? Like he has a recycling business now, you know what I mean? With boxes and things of that nature, incredible, you know, man. Which is, you know, it's basically sustainability. It's just like such a cool thing that he does, you know what I mean? And he does it just subconsciously as well, you know? So I think their ways of working basically for me subconsciously made me who I am as a professional, you know, to know that I can explore the entrepreneurial side and know that I can also do, you know, education and corporate on one side as well. So I think that's basically what I took from them. And the spirit of never stopping, because like I remember seeing my mom at like 50, 51, 52 graduating, you know, getting another qualification, you know what I mean?
Incredible.
Yeah, and seeing my dad, you know, if a business doesn't do well and fails, he picks himself up again and he tries again as well, you know? So it's just like, just never stopping. Like my dad doesn't stop, you know? So that's another thing that I've just really taken to. It's like, yeah, you know,
That's
you can
so
do it.
beautiful,
You can
bro.
really do it and just never stop doing. Yeah.
That's so beautiful, bro. When does the sobering happen, bro? Is this post finishing studies, or do you guys start while you sort of wrapping up, or when? And how does the concept happen? How do you get to the name? Like, take me to the, give me the context.
The whole story,
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
story. So Kitso Mkhetho know that the super whole story because they are the super founders, you know?
Yes.
But from a timeline perspective, it did start after graduating. Also just like being in production, like now I'd stepped into production, I was off screen now. And then just realizing that, okay, cool. There aren't a lot of things that are speaking to documenting this culture that we love so much, you know? So why not create an avenue for that? So that's how it started. It actually started because my brother and I, we used to make like music as well. And then Mkhetho used to write for Cool Out, the blog Cool Out.
Yeah,
You know, again, pardon me. Blogging again is just like there, and it's just like a thing that really connects people, which is, I love that medium so much. So he was blogging and he had written a review about the project that my brother and I had put out. And then I invited him on another podcast that we had with my varsity friend called my varsity like friends. It was called Art Lifers Radio. And we used to do it at the satellite radio on top of Alex Theatre in Brahm. And then he came through, and then he also met my brother, and him and my brother just really kicked it off, man. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like minds and things of that nature. And they were hanging out a lot, and they were having a lot of hip hop debates.
Yeah.
And they were like, let's just, you know, put this online, you know, let's have these hip hop debates online. Let's start a podcast, you know?
Yeah.
And this is 2015, around about 10 years ago. Crazy. So they started that conversation. And then how they came up with the name, if I'm not mistaken, Mkhetho would shoot me if I'm wrong, but yeah, they were in the studio and they had their episode, but they didn't name it. And at the end of the episode, they're like, what should we call this? You know what I mean? And thinking about when it was dropping, it would drop after a weekend, like on a Monday, and now you have to sober up, you know? So it's a sobering day, and also it's about sobering truths. So that's how they came up with the name, The Sobering. And then like fast forward to 2 seasons later of The Sobering, I'm still doing Art Lifers, but we're recording we're using the same facilities to record.
Yeah.
And Kito's just recording us as well. But the Art Lifers had provided like the space. We were doing it at Fratpacker store, RHTC in Brahm.
Yeah.
And then I was just hanging around because those are my homies while they were recording. And they would have takes that I am kind of disagreeing with. So I'll be on the sideline, like maybe shaking my head, you know, or agreeing profusely or something of that nature. But Mkhetho was just like, dog, just say this on the mic then. You know, what do you have to say, you know? And that one time became another time, and that became another time. And then he was just like, both of them, they were just like, dog, just do this, man. Just come through. And at that time, us as Art Lifers, we were now, you know, life has started for us, you know? You know, we're not as like, you know, in one space as we were before, because everybody's got their different lives now. Everybody's working somewhere
yeah,
else.
yeah.
Weekends are different, so, we still super homies. We still have our WhatsApp group as art lifers and whatnot, but then we had stopped podding. And then I still had the pod bug in me. And then I basically became the third member of the Sobering podcast. And then, yeah, we went super aggressive from there on. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
And that's how we at where we at.
Is there one episode that really comes to mind when you think of one maybe really difficult one, or one challenging one, or one that was just really incredible and smooth? And is there anyone that comes to mind that, when you think the Sobering, what are the sort of top of mind that either meant a lot to you or were really difficult? I would imagine there would either be the really difficult on the spectrum or really incredible,
I don't have a lot of like difficult ones, to be honest, because all of them come through with like such a different, everybody's so different in their thinking, and you learn so many things from people's various journeys.
Yes.
The difficult times were just like when people really didn't know what podcasting was.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that was the earlier times, thinking around 2017. And when you're asking people, yo, come through, let's have a conversation. And then they're like, but what is that? Like, and then you're going to put it online, and then what? And at that time we weren't doing visuals, so we put it on audio, like SoundCloud and Apple Music and Spotify and whatnot. And people were just like, why would I want to do that? So those are the difficult times. You had a lot of dropped episodes or like dropped guests,
Gotcha.
And as you can imagine, at that time, you really have your vision to rely on. That's when your vision is like your North Star and like your beacon, because it's very hard, or it's very easy rather, to get discouraged in those moments where it's like, these guys aren't coming, or they're not taking us serious, or but then you're just like, nah, well, we're doing this to document culture. We can still document it from what we see and what we relay and what we communicate as well. So those were hard times, not hard and essentially, but like those were like difficult moments to maneuver, because it required a lot internally from us, what I mean? Because we're doing this out of our own pocket, and time is money as well. So we're taking time out of our day. You're telling the people that you're with that you can't make it, because you have to go record this. You know what I mean? Like, you're sacrificing so much for this thing that you don't know where it's going to go. But all you have is this vision to rely on solely, But then, like, you have these great moments where people just believe in it. You know what I mean? And like with us, the belief moment, I think, was when AB and Bev invested in the podcast for like the Castle Light Unlocks campaign. I think it was 2019. When Meek Mill and Post Malone came through, and Sway came through, and shout out to Salam. He was like, I guess the brand manager at the time there.
Yes.
And he saw me at like the Hip Hop Awards, and he was just like, yo, man, like, I saw that you guys have this podcast and it seems dope. And he just had the foresight of what podcasting was about to be.
Incredible.
Literally, and he was like, okay, cool. What we're going to do, at that time, they weren't partnering with traditional media at all. Yes. And they were like, we're going to do new media, digital media, and you guys are going to be one of the guys that we partner up with. And they invested in our podcast then. And from that just, it clicked, everything clicked. And that forced us to formalize everything,
Wow.
You know what I mean? Understanding that we have to be a business, we have to have these documents to be registered with another business, so that was like a turning point for us, because that really made us see ourselves as business operators and business owners, and that was amazing. And then you have like viral moments where you understand that, oh snap, this can make or break you. Like a viral moment could be a good or a bad thing. Like when we did the Makwa interview, and it was very topical, and everybody was like, these guys are wrong. These guys are right. This is so. There's just so many voices, and you're just like, wow, we were just, just trying to have a conversation. then you have to decide what is your tone, you know what I mean? And I think that also just reminded us what our tone is. Like, no, our tone is not to be this platform that's, you know, chasing a moment or anything of that nature. Exactly. No, we're here to, you know, deliver a certain message, communicate, and document what the creative culture in South Africa is, and tell that story to everybody and have them have us as a reference point, you know, when they're doing their academic, you know, articles, they can reference in Harvard style, the Sobering podcast, you know?
I love that.
So yeah. So that was crazy. And of course, like, the Matlera interview is just like also something that was beautiful because it's a nice, because we had like a follow-up interview to that. And it was a nice before and after case study. You know what I mean? Like, you can see us in the first one, it was like during COVID or just before COVID. So we in like my apartment at the time, you know, and the quality is, you know what I mean? It's a bit tricky, but it's at the time it's like, okay, this is what we can do. It's dope, you know? And when we looked at it at that time, it looked dope, you know, it was all good. But now fast forward, you know, you can see when we did the second one, you can see the growth, you know, you can see the quality, you know, everything is just like, even him, you can see where he was then and where he is at that time when we did it, you know what I mean? Like, the first one, you know, he's in like, you know, like streetwear and whatnot. And then the second one, he's got the grills now, like crazy fade, got the Burberry shirt. You know what I mean? It's like, so it was beautiful to see growth, you know what I mean? And you can literally compare it, you know?
Yes.
Rest in peace, AKA. That was like another beautiful moment, you know? That was a beautiful one because Mkhetwa was like such a big AKA fan, like a legacy, you know, custodian, you know, of sorts, you know what I mean? Like, and we used to always have these debates. It was like, I was a big Ricky supporter. Like, we'd have them as like football clubs. I'd be like Ricky FC and the Legacy FC, and we'd have those debates on like, Ricky's the dopest performer now, AK is the dopest, you know what I mean? Kito would mediate and you know what I mean? Be Switzerland, but then like, you know. So that was a beautiful moment because it was like such a full circle moment for Mkhetwa as well, just to be able to speak to somebody that he held in such high regard musically and artistically. And the way that AKA did that and he told his story like fully, like, you know what I mean? No holds barred. Like, and he was just just so great. And the energy that he had on that day was so amazing. It was like, yeah, man. So, yeah, I would say those were the episodes that really spoke to me. But to be honest, a lot of them are really special, man. Like,
they all have their place.
So many have their place, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And you touched on some important things I just want to go back to. Like, I think definitely with you on, you know, it's crazy the role certain people play in these corporate brands. And, you know, seeing the vision early and, you know, it can really change the trajectory of people's paths, you know. So I'm always like, you know, gunning for the people like also Ramona at InBev, you know, Josh at Flying Fish, at, you know, Anime and Yande at Binance. Like, these people they play such an important role because they are the link between these worlds. And it can be quite detrimental to culture when they're not linking the right things, you know. We've seen it happen time and time again, you know. So I'm always like trying to give flowers to the people who are like, have that foresight, especially when, you know, it's easy to jump on something when someone's popping. It's very easy. Everybody's coming to you, everyone wants to sign up, but to do that and to build with people who play in the space early on is a really, really important and beautiful thing. And just on Mkhetwa and like, bro, I have such a respect for him. I love how he also asks difficult questions sometimes. It's something I love about his character, or I don't want to say character on the show, as in character of him as a human being. Like, I do love that. And that's something I love about the Sobering, bro. I love that you guys never lost, you know, it feels like the conversation you guys have with the three of you. And even when a guest comes on, it feels like the conversation with the three of you. And that's something I love so much, because it's like, your opinions are so valued. I love that you guys share. It's almost like you ask a question, then you guys share what you think about the answer. And I love that, bro. It's so powerful. And it's like, you guys share your, the one thing I will mention from my side, I would love for you guys to ask people their deal structures when they when they're on the show, just break down the percentages and break down, like there's a lot of artists and a lot of people that come into the show. I know you guys are advocates for, just making sure people are, not in bad deals and that sort of stuff. But I think one important piece is like, let's start breaking down what the deals look like. Like, what's your percentage? What's your license? Because you also have such a great understanding of licensing content, bro.
Yeah.
You also have such a great understanding of owning IP. These are not far from record deals and they're very similar structures, So it's like, that's something when I come onto the sobering one day, we can also break
100%,
down,
please.
Where I've also got quite a bit of knowledge, I'd love to share. But tell me, what does the next 5 years look like, bro? Where do you see it on the corporate side of things? Do you see, building that role into a bigger role, or do you see starting your own production arm? And then where do you see in the sort of 5 to 10 year realm I'm going to call it your night gig, your Superman.
Yeah, my Superman. What does Clark Kent look like? And what does Superman
look like? Yeah.
Superman. Let's start with Clark Kent, like from a formal perspective. I'm definitely studying more. Also just trying to really understand what goes into corporate strategy.
Yes.
Like, I find it like such an art, bro. Like, it feels like it's like chess. You know what I mean? And it's like, it really is chess. And I've got such a admiration for like super strategists as well. You know what I mean? And just seeing what they do and how they move things around and how they, try to predict what the tide is going to go. You know what I mean? Like how things are going to go and, just trying to checkmate something, and come up with solutions that will build further whatever mold or business that you're in. So there's a big interest in what strategy looks like for me. There's like super, super interest. In my head, that's what I call myself now. Like literally, I'm just like, you know what?
Strategist.
I'm a strategist. You know what I mean? And
I love that.
Maybe it's a low level or whatever level right now, but I know that I'm definitely sharpening the strategist tool, the strategist sword. And that's basically where I'm thinking. And
Incredible.
Where it takes me afterwards, I don't know. I'm a big believer in God. And I always just say, yo, God, you do your thing. You know what I mean? Like, but just know I'm going to be in the mode or in the direction of progression. But you just take me to the height that you want me to be at. And it is really up to him where I end up from that perspective. You know what I mean? It's something that I pray about a lot. And yeah, I think even where I am, I never pictured myself being here. You know what I mean? I was just really just letting my passion for content shine, or, just letting it out all the time. That's what I spoke about. That's what I would, research about even to this day. I listen to podcasts about the television industry, what linear means, what video on demand means in different territories, and understanding that different territories gravitate towards different strategies and different ways of consuming content. And that's such a beautiful thing to me. Again, that's very interesting, even from like a music perspective, how different territories take music in, where is the biggest market for direct to consumer strategies? Where is it the biggest market for just streaming? Where are the people like really still into physicals and things like that? I find that very interesting, and I would like to draw strategies around that. So that's what the corporate side looks like, upskilling and going into the strategy stratosphere. It's something that I glow at, you know what I mean? It's something that I'm really passionate about. Even like watching you and how you do things, like, because you're also a major strategist a lot, you know what I mean? And how you've maneuvered through your career is also something very, very admirable. Like, you've always had a strategic way of doing things. You know, you knew when you came on to battle stations what that does for you. And like when you even contributed to the prize, you know what I mean? What that trade at that time, you were talking trade exchange and things of that nature at that age, you know, that's insane. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So like just looking at other strategists is always just like, it just makes me want to do it more. I feel like it's a really an art. Like, I really find it as business art. So I really want to build on that foundation. And I love that I'm in a space that also allows for that. You know what I mean? It's a blessing to be part of an institution that allows you to like study and like, you know, pick the brains of people that are in that sphere as well. So shout out to MultiChoice for that as well, you know.
Incredible.
So that's really, really dope. And then the Superman side, you know, it really is Superman, because I think it's really purposeful, you know. You do have to put on the role of really adding to this economy that you're a part of, the creative economy. And how do we get to a point where we empower people? You know what I mean? And what that next 5 years looks like is it is a sense of sobering school. You know what I mean? Like, really getting to a point where we can upskill people. I am a firm believer in the space upskilling people and having them at a point where they can fish. You know what I mean? Like, I really, really feel like business development is a thing that all entrepreneurs, artists, creatives need to be a part of. You know what I mean? Understanding how to develop a business, understanding how to upskill themselves in the various hats that they wear. You know what I mean? We always talk about building teams. Yeah, it's cool to build a team, but also grow your teams. What does growing your team look like once you've built your team? And I want to exist in places that have structures or create the structures that help develop people in a business enlightenment sense. So I don't know how long that's going to take. I don't know what that looks like, but I know that is something that I have consistently been talking about for a couple of years. I feel like Dr. Umar talking about his school even, you know what I mean? But like, I'm really passionate about upskilling, and the documenting is gonna continue, because that doesn't stop, because there's always people creating. And I feel like our thing is to make sure that these creators are seen, you know what I mean? And just that they know that they are heard, you know? Because it's really such a brave act to put your art out into the world, you know what I mean? And it's always dope to know that it's landing somewhere, and it's landing somewhere positively. And I think that's also something that we just want to do forever. Consistently highlight the fact that your art is heard. And if your art is dope, we want to help it grow as well. So yeah, that's growing dope art and also upskilling people. That is my goal in terms of what it looks like in the next 5 years. That's really my thing, man.
Well then, bro, tell me, if you were to give some advice to, let's say, the 18-year-old version of you. So again, let's maybe wear two hats: someone who's stepping into the corporate side of the industry and someone who's stepping into, and maybe it's the same advice. I'll leave that up to you, bro. But what is the some advice you would give to someone, whether they're starting a podcast, you know, whether they stepping into their work-life journey? What is the advice you would leave someone, and you would leave with your 18-year-old self?
Ooh, that's a very, very good question. Very good question, because I feel like what I tell my 18-year-old self will be what I tell myself even today. Like, for real, it's just something that we always neglect to do. Like, really, just really focus on the craft. Everything else doesn't matter, bro. Like, when you focus on the craft, everything takes care of itself, you know. And it's something that I have ashamedly like sometimes deviated from. You know what I mean? You get caught up in life. You know what I mean? And it's human to live life and be caught up in nonsense, you know, that you shouldn't be caught up in. I think I would just tell 18-year-old me is like, really, you do have to put your blinkers on. Like we villainize blinkers for too long, you know. Have your tunnel vision when it comes to the work, because it's gonna take you further than trying to play people politics. I think that's what I think the thing about it is that forget the people politics, focus on the craft, you know. And when you grow, you understand what people politics is, especially in corporate structures, especially in street culture as well. You know what I mean? Like, forget about getting on guest lists and going to parties, whatever. Forget about that, bro. Work. You know what I mean? And the work will speak for itself, and the work will get out and take you to other places, bro. Because everything that's gotten me to a place of positivity was work related, bro. You know what I mean? Salam didn't know me like that. He just knew my work. He just knew our work, and he invested. You know what I mean? Like when you send your resume to a corporation to apply for a job, you're putting your work there. You know what I mean? Yes, you have references, but your references are gonna speak about your work. So everything, just put it into the work and silence everything else. It's one of the most basic rules that everybody tells you, but you just somehow neglect to really think about or really implement as well. So,
and how do you break away from work? What do you do when you're not working?
Oh man, I really be chilling, bro. I listen to so much music. I love music. Music is my vice.
Yes.
I love movies. Like I do, like the most therapeutic thing for me is going to solo movie dates. Like I will take myself to a cinema and, you know,
crazy,
play eeny, meeny, miny, mo, whatever's on circuit, and then go in there, chill, the back, have my popcorn and whatever snacks, and zone out. I love that, you know.
Crazy.
But I've also been very blessed to have like a very, very great friend group and a great family that I can break away and spend time with them. You know what I mean? So if I'm not working, I'm chilling with my brother, my sisters, I'm chilling with pops, or I'm chilling with my homies and just laughing, playing FIFA, playing Tekken, you know what I mean? Listening to music, debating about music, you know, watching basketball at odd hours. I love basketball as well. So the NBA app is like League Pass is that's my favorite thing. That's my favorite app, bro. Like crazy. I know like 2 a.m. I know there's a game playing, you know, I mean, I'll catch a game, you know? So for me, I'm a very low maintenance guy, bro. Like, and I'm an easy customer because it's very little things. These things that make me happy are so accessible to me. And I thank God that they're accessible, you know what I mean? Just watching something dope, listening to something dope, chilling with dope people, and then I'm good, you know what I mean?
And investments, bro, any stuff like that? Are you into any stocks, crypto, into...
I am so bad with that, bro.
For real?
I've got a homie of mine that my boy Tito, like he's heavy on that. Like he was trying to put me on because he caught a boom and like COVID was like such a stock boom, bro. And he's up.
Yeah.
And he was trying to put me on game and it's just something that I need to understand more. You know what I mean? But with crypto, I don't understand at all.
Collectibles, bro. Any stuff that you collect? Any?
To be honest, I only recently started understanding in terms of like art. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like, you know, also there I've got a friend that's really, he's got a good eye for art, and just like he knows like lower tier. Like it's like we can start small where you're buying a painting for like a rack, and that painting is worth like 5 racks afterwards. You know what I mean? Later, you know, he's gotten into that space and introduced me to that space, and that's something that I'm looking into. You know,
amazing.
You know, because to be honest, man, I was just collecting shoes. I think know, I was just collecting shoes, and they be villainizing shoe collectors, man. They make us look like we ain't people, dog. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
we nonsense people or something. If you watch that movie, that SZA and Kiki Palmer movie.
Yeah.
Like the whack boyfriend is like a sneakerhead, and that's it. And they make like such a thing of him being like a sneakerhead. I'm like, what did these sneakerheads ever do to you guys? But yeah, in terms of the world of collectibles and investing is something that I'm actively trying to learn, you know, because it is like something cool to understand.
Definitely, bro. I think especially with like the technology behind, you know, whether it's crypto, NFTs, blockchain, I think they're going to play such an important role in IP protection in the next, I would say, 5 or so years, just because I think this is just, I think, you know, it's my opinion, but I think they're going to play an important part because of the fact that you can track IP and where IP is being used better than anything else pretty much. And I think that's going to play a big role with people's content being reused and tracked. And, you know, because on a blockchain, you get to see every transaction that happens. So if I use a reference of your clip or your thing or your video or your picture, you know, and I pay what I'm meant to pay and it goes down the ladder of who else uses it, I think it's going to play a super important role in content in general, you know? So it's something I definitely keep my eye on where I'm like, yo, let's see where this goes, you know?
That's fire. And where are you tracking like the developments of that world? Like I always ask people like in terms of their interests and things that are so enlightening, like how do you keep track of the developments in that sphere?
Bro, pretty much, I would say the same thing you're doing with every other sphere. It's a couple of podcasts, a couple of blogs. I mean, I'll send you some links to stuff that I just keep my eye on, you know, and a couple of papers that get published around new technologies that come out, you know?
Yeah.
And those things are the things I just keep my eye on, you know? Like, there's some gents I read of recently who just picked up that a new technology got created on, I think it was GitHub or whatever, and they saw an article or a paper on that, and they were like, oh shit, okay, so you can pretty much create voice recognition and use an AI software, and they saw that, and then they went and built something really, really simple that could mimic someone's voice.
Hectic.
And then they were the ones who dropped that Kanye Drake simulator, and they put it on TikTok, and they had 1 million users in the next day, you know? Just because they read about a technology that existed and they put 2 and 2 together to go like, oh, we could use the simulator, you know? So yeah, it's those things that I always just like try to keep my eye on. And look, bro, from my side, I just want to say, anything else from your side, bro? Before I hit you with the last question.
Just thank you, bro. I love this platform, you know what I mean? And from an aesthetic perspective, from the information, you know, perspective, and just a whole lot of respect for you. You know that, bro. Like, and I just love how you've shapeshifted in so many ways, but like there's still always that music golden thread that's always been there. You know what I mean? Like your love for music and the way that you contribute to music is really admirable. So shout out, bro.
That. Thank you, man. Thank you. And the last question, bro. What do you think is the meaning of life? What do you think is the meaning of the whole design?
Woo!
Oh, you thought we were done?
Yo! Wow, bro. That's such an existential question, bro. Like, I don't know. The real honest answer to that question is I don't know, and I just think that even though you don't know, I think just always just be true to yourself, because I think that's your greatest contribution to the world, bro. It's just being true to yourself. And that's a form of representation because you make it easier for other people to be true to themselves because they can see other people being true to themselves.
I love that, bro.
Yeah,
bro. Just to give you your flowers, bro. Just congrats on everything. Shout out to you guys. You have such an important platform, and you guys are really doing it justice. I think you guys are only getting started, bro. And I can't wait to see, you know, what you guys got planned for the near future. I think you're gonna bring us crazy formats that are gonna go all around the world, bro. And you know, you had that Maglera moment. We're gonna have yours where you come into the show and you're like this massive Hollywood producer. And you're going to come on with your grills. You're going to come on with that Ralph Lauren. You're going to come there with the new suit. And you're going to watch back and say, yo, remember, bro, that time.
Bro.
You know,
I mean,
so Shout out to you, my
Ah,
brother.
man,
Thank
thanks,
you, bro.
George,
Thank
man.
you so much. I
Appreciate
appreciate
your
you.
stuff.
I think you're the first guest who literally has flown in to shoot this and flying out. So thank you, bro. We know the
Shout out, bro.
podcast is going somewhere, bro. So shout out, bro.
Love it, love it. Thank
my
you,
brother.
dog.
I appreciate you, my
Appreciate
bro.
you,
That's
dog.
beautiful, bro.
Man.
Heavy is the head that wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.